seeing Lord Shiva sitting as if against him, washed his hands and mouth and cursed him in the following. Oh. The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice. But Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all demigods, should not have a share. Whoa, serious statement here. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Canto 4, Chapter 2, text number 18. I'm sorry. Yeah, text number 18. The demigods are eligible to share in the oblations of sacrifice. But Lord Shiva, who is the lowest of all the demigods, should not have a share. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Because of this curse, Shiva was deprived of his share in the oblations of Vedic sacrifices. It was due to the curse of Daksha. Shri Vishwanatha Chakravarti comments on this in this connection that Lord Shiva was saved from the calamity of taking part with other demigods who were all materialistic. Lord Shiva is the greatest devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it is not fitting for him to eat or sit with materialistic persons like the demigods. Thus, the curse of Daksha was indirectly a blessing, for Shiva would not have to eat or sit with other demigods who were too materialistic. There is a practical example set for us by Gorakishora Dasa Babaji Maharaj, who used to sit on the side of a latrine, meaning a place where people pass stool and urine, to chant Hare Krishna. Many materialistic persons used to come and bother him and disturb his daily routine of chanting. So to avoid their company, he used to sit by the side of a latrine, meaning a toilet, where materialistic persons would not go because of the filth and the obnoxious smell. However, Gorakishore Dasa Babaji was so great that he was accepted as the spiritual master of such a great personality as His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupad Shri Shripad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaja. The conclusion is that Lord Shiva behaved in his own way to avoid materialistic persons who might disturb him in his prosecution of devotional service. Haripol. Okay, so yeah, unfortunately, sometimes people disturb pure devotees with insignificant and nonsensical talk. So, Orchestra Babaji solved that problem by sitting on the side of a latrine, meaning a place where people pass stool, to chant Hare Krishna. Many materialistic persons used to come and bother him and disturb his daily routine of chanting. So, to avoid their company, he used to sit by the side of a latrine, meaning a toilet, a public toilet, where materialistic persons would not go because of the filth and the obnoxious smell. However, Gorakishore Das Babaji Maharaj was so great that he was accepted as the spiritual master of such a great personality as His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupada Shipad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. The conclusion is that Lord Shiva behaved in his own way to avoid materialistic persons who might disturb him in his prosecution of devotional service. Okay, yeah, this is very interesting to see how much it's necessary to get away from nonsense people who disturb someone in chanting their holy name, the holy names of the Lord. Why? Because one has to maintain complete, let's say, uh, complete, uh, uh, complete uh, um, thought and meditation on the holy name of the Lord when they're chanting Hare Krishna and not have any distraction. Otherwise, it's some kind of a aparad to be distracted while you're chanting. So someone like Gorkishore Babaji Maharaj, who was many people knew that he was a very exceptional, pure devotee. They would come to bother him. Therefore, he chanted his rounds right next to a latrine, a place where people would come to pass stool. That way, they let him would not disturb him. So that's why it says there is a practical example set for us by Gorkishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who used to sit on the side of a latrine, meaning a toilet, to chant Hare Krishna. Many materialistic persons used to come and bother him and disturb his daily routine of chanting. So to avoid their company, he used to sit by the side of a latrine, meaning a toilet, public toilet, where materialistic persons would not go because of the filth and the obnoxious smell. However, Gorkishore Dasa Babaji Maharaj was so great that he was accepted as the spiritual master of such a great personality as His Divine Grace, Om Vishnupada Shishipad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj. The conclusion is that Lord Shiva behaved in his own way to avoid materialistic persons who might disturb him in his prosecution of devotional service. Yeah, nobody likes to be disturbed while they're chanting Hare Krishna. And especially a pure devotee like Gorkishore Babaji, who would be chanting Hare Krishna maybe most of the day. Therefore, to make sure people wouldn't come and disturb his chanting, he would chant in a place where there people come to pass stool and urine. Okay, text number 19. Maitreya continued, my dear Vidura, in spite of the requests of all the members of the sacrificial assembly, Daksha, in great anger, cursed Lord Shiva and then left the assembly and went back to his home. Whoa, Daksha is really upset. Purport. Anger is so detrimental that even a great personality like Daksha, out of anger, left the arena where Brahma was presiding and all the great sages and pious and saintly persons were assembled. All of them requested him not to leave, but infuriated, he left, thinking that the auspicious place was not fit for him. Puffed up by his exalted position, he thought that no one was greater than he in argument. It appears that all the members of the assembly, including Lord Brahma, requested him not to be angry and leave their company. But in spite of all these requests, he left. That is the effect of cruel anger. In Bhagavad Gita, therefore, it is advised that one who desires to make tangible advancement in spiritual consciousness must avoid three things: lust, anger, and the mode of passion. Actually, we can see that lust, anger, and passion make a man crazy, even though he's put in great, he is as great as Daksha. The very name Daksha suggests that he was expert in all material activities, but still, because of his aversion towards such a saintly personality as Shiva, he was attacked by these three enemies: anger, lust, and passion. Lord Chaitanya, therefore, advised that one be very careful not to offend Vaishnavas. He compared offenses toward a Vaishnava to a mad elephant, as a mad elephant can do anything horrible. So when a person offends a Vaishnava, he can perform any abominable action. Wow. Text 20, Canto 4, Chapter 2, text number 20. Upon understanding that Lord Shiva had been cursed, Nandishvara, one of Lord Shiva's principal associates, became greatly angry. His eyes became red, and he prepared to curse Daksha and all the Brahmanas present there who had tolerated Daksha's cursing Shiva in harsh words. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. There is a long-standing dissension among some of the neophyte Vaishnavas and Saivites. They are always at loggerheads. When Daksha cursed Lord Shiva in harsh words, some of the Brahmanas present might have enjoyed it because some Brahmanas do not very much admire Lord Shiva. This is due to their ignorance of Lord Shiva's position. Nandishvara was affected by the cursing, but he did not follow the example of Lord Shiva, who was also present there. Although Lord Shiva could also have cursed Daksha in a similar way, he was silent and tolerant. But Nandishvara, his follower, was not tolerant. Of course, as a follower, it was right for him not to tolerate an insult to his master, but he should not have cursed the Brahmanas who were present. The entire issue was so complicated that those who were not strong enough forgot their positions, and thus cursing and counter-cursing went on in that great assembly. In other words, the material field is so unsteady that even personalities like Nandishvara, Daksha, and many of the Brahmanas present were infected by the atmosphere of anger. Whoa, Haribol. Text 21. Anyone who has accepted Daksha as the most important personality and neglected Lord Shiva because of envy is less intelligent, and because of visualizing in duality will be bereft of transcendental knowledge. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. The first curse by Nandishvara was that anyone supporting Daksha was foolishly identifying himself with the body. and therefore, because Daksha had no transcendental knowledge, supporting him would deprive one of transcendental knowledge. Daksha, Nandishwara said, identified himself with the body like other materialistic persons and was trying to derive all kinds of facilities in relationship with the body. He had excessive attachment for the body and, in relation to the body, with wife, children, home, and other such things, which are different from the soul. Therefore, Nandishwara's curse was that anyone who supposed Daksha would be bereft of transcendental knowledge and soul, and thus also be deprived of knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Whoa, Harivilas. Cursing and uh, is a horrible thing. Pretentiously religious householder life in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus also attracted to the superficial explanation of the Vedas robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all. Well, the superficial explanation of the Vedas. Well, there's a lot of that going on. But what happens? You get robbed of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Persons who identify with bodily existence are attached to the fruitive activities described in the Vedic literature. For example, in the Vedas it is said that one who observes the Chaturmasya vow will attain eternal happiness in the heavenly kingdom. In Bhagavad Gita, okay, so when it says in the heavenly kingdom, what they're trying to achieve is not going back to the spiritual world or the spiritual kingdom. They want to be elevated to the heavenly kingdom, but they're still in the material world like that. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that this flowery language of the Vedas mostly attracts persons who identify with the body. To them, such happiness as that of the heavenly kingdom is everything. They do not know that beyond that, meaning the heavenly kingdom, is the spiritual kingdom or kingdom of God, and they have no knowledge that one can go there. Thus, they are bereft of transcendental knowledge that one, such persons are very careful in observing the rules and regulations of household life in order to be promoted in the next life to the moon or other heavenly planets. It is stated here that such persons are attached to Gramya Sukha, which means material happiness, without knowledge of eternal, blissful, spiritual knowledge. So now we see that there is a difference between going to the moon and going back to Godhead. So we can understand now that going to the moon is not such a big thing because although the moon is a heavenly type of place, it doesn't really help one become Krishna conscious. Look how much trouble they're going through trying to go into the moon. Instead of trying to purify themselves in Krishna consciousness, they're trying to go to the moon. And what will they experience there? Well, because the human body is not made to live on the moon, they'll go there, maybe stay a little bit, and come back to the earth again. So these type of activities are called a waste of time, money, energy, and not focusing on how to go back to Godhead. Going to moon, going to the moon is not something that's possible anyway. They're not going to be able to go to the moon. The moon is a superior planet than the Earth planet. It's just like a person who's in India wants to go to the United States. Well, they have to go through the trouble of getting a visa. And sometimes it's not possible to get an American visa to go to the United States. Or sometimes they have to spend a lot of money to be able to get a visa to go to the United States. And there are a lot of people that can't afford that much money, so they don't go. So it's the same thing with the moon. The moon is superior uh, planet in the universe, and it's a heavenly planet actually. So it's not only is it going to be materially difficult to go there, but one must be qualified to go to the moon. But if you think about it, who wants to go to the moon? Our bodies are not made to live on the moon. We would have to have some kind of a astronomers or a special type of clothing to live on the moon. So it would be artificial for us to be there. It's just like a fish out of water. We would not be able to normally live on the moon. The atmosphere is completely different than that of the Earth. So, why, therefore, should one want to go to the moon? Well, because they're in ignorance. The real purpose is to go back to Godhead, not go to the moon, not waste so much time and money trying to do that. But yet, due to ignorance, it's not scientific advancement going to the moon. First of all, how long can you stay there? Our body is not meant to live on the atmosphere of the moon. The people that live on the moon have a suitable material body that is more subtle than the human body of living entities. So, with all the effort that they make, it's basically achieving very, very little advancement in spiritual life. The best thing is wherever we are to practice Krishna consciousness seriously. Then not only we can go to the moon, if we want to, we can go anywhere in the universe. But someone who's actually educated and not ignorant does not want to go to the moon. They want to go back to the spiritual world where they originally came from. You can't stay on the moon eternally anyway, because our body is not made to uh, to live in the atmosphere of the moon. So therefore, it says in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that this flowery language of the Vedas mostly attracts persons who identify with the body. To them, such happiness as that of the heavenly kingdom is everything. They do not know that beyond that is the spiritual kingdom or the kingdom of God. And they have no knowledge that one can go there. Thus, they are bereft of transcendental knowledge. Such persons are very careful in observing the rules and regulations of household life in order to be promoted in the next life to the moon or other heavenly planets. It is stated here that such persons are attached to Gramya Sukha, which means material happiness, without knowledge of eternal, blissful, spiritual life. That's a good statement. A lot of people are trying to go to the moon. It's basically a waste of time. And the atmosphere of the moon is not made for us. So they're going to spend a lot of time and money. And what will they have to show for it? Well, they can say, well, I went to the moon, but that's not the real purpose of life. The real purpose of life is go back to Godhead. So too many people are trying to do things that are impossible to achieve. And therefore, so much money and time is being wasted. We should make the best of a bad bargain. Okay, we're in a material world and we have a material body that covers our eternal soul. That right there is a bad bargain. But the way to make the best of a bad bargain is to use the material body that we have in the service of Krishna. Then, by uninterrupted devotional service, we can eventually get our spiritual body and go back to the spiritual world eternally, not the moon.
So one question, Maharaj, here there's a reference to Chaturmasya vow,
Yeah.
austerity. And then Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati talked about Maharaj, like, so he obviously strong proponent of Krishna consciousness for Acharya. So then he performed that activity as was, so like, why did he perform that activity? Austerity.
It was not to go back to the moon, or any heavenly planet. Uh, he performed this type of, tapasya to prepare himself to preach, to, but he wanted to purify himself so that he could preach and spread Krishna consciousness. Yeah, you have to be trained to uh, preach the Krishna consciousness movement. So if you have any attachment to material things, you won't be able to preach properly. So sometimes people observe severe, uh, let's say, vows to lose any attraction to the material world.
Mm.
That's our problem. We're attracted to things in the material world, and that holds us back from pure devotional service. So when a devotee engages in, uh, let's say, severe tapasya, it's to lose their attraction to the material world. It's not to become powerful. Like demons also engage in tapasya, but it's to develop power to have sense gratification. But when a devotee engages in tapasya, it's to purify themselves from any attraction to the material world so that they can act purely in Krishna consciousness. But the best thing to do is simply follow the principles of Krishna consciousness: no meat eating, no gambling, no illicit sex, no intoxication, and always, as much as possible, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So then you can achieve everything that the so-called uh, very very severe tapasvis are doing. You don't have to do what they do, but you can be engaged 24 hours a day in Krishna consciousness activities. There's no suffering involved in engaging in Krishna consciousness, but there is, uh, let's say, freedom from attraction to material nature. That is what is necessary to achieve if one wants to be a devotee. They lose all attraction to material nature and they develop attraction to Radha and Krishna. They're not interested in going to the moon or any other planet. They make the best of a bad bargain, that is, by dovetailing their whole life into Krishna conscious activities without hankering for going to the moon or going to any other planet. Their only hankering is to be engaged always in Krishna's service, even if it's life after life. They're not disturbed by that because they're engaged in genuine devotional service. Although in the Vedas, there's what's called flowery language of the Vedas. It's like a honey trap. Uh, you have, uh, like for example, if people want to go fishing, they go to the fish uh, 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 store and they buy these very, very beautiful uh, fish traps. I don't know if you've seen them. They're very, very attractive types of artificial fish, and they have a hook hidden in this trap. So when they throw their uh, line into the river or the lake, uh, this very attractive fish seems to be in the water, and a fish will be attracted to it. And when they bite it, they get stuck or trapped by a hook. Of course, they don't see the hook in the beginning. They just see the very attractive fish. And fish eat fish, right? So the big fish eats the little fish. So they have, if you go to, I don't know if you've ever done this, you go to a store where they sell all kinds of things for catching fish, right? And they have these elaborate fish traps. Uh, and they're basically hooks, but they're uh, very nicely decorated around the hook. And fish become attracted to them. They don't know the danger that they're in because they don't see the hook. They only see the attraction that of beautiful colors and so forth. And they try and take a bite because it looks like very delicious to them. They get caught. That's also called a honey trap. Like, for example, when there's espionage. So a woman is trained to entice men to have sex in order to find out secrets or to exploit someone to uh, to reveal um, things that can be used to defeat the enemy. So they send very, very beautiful women to have illicit sex with men. And the whole idea is to find out how to, the weaknesses of the enemy and take advantage of it. Anyway, whether you're a fisherman who buys a nice hook to catch fish, or a prostitute who is paid to have sex with nonsense men to find out secrets for uh, passing on that information to the enemy. It's the same thing. It's being artificially attracted to material traps. And it's cool. And when it's amongst human beings, it's called a honey trap, where a woman is very nicely dressed and is willing to have sex with a man in order to find out secrets that can be used to defeat the enemy. So there were men, women like that. There were also women who were trained right from early childhood to drink a little bit of poison, and as they kept growing older, they would increase the amount of poison that they could drink without dying. But it is a slow process to build up that immunity. And they became so toxic that if any man would kiss them, they would almost immediately die by touching the lips of such women. So children would be trained from early on to consume a little bit of poison, and little by little they would build up an immunity to very lethal liquids, and therefore they would go and kiss a man, and the man, by coming in contact with their saliva, these ladies, they would die because it was very poisonous. Right? Although these ladies were trained from childhood to be able to uh, consume, uh, not right away, consume a large amount of toxic things, but little by little they were trained to consume uh, toxic poisons. And then they would be a spy and then attract some enemy guy to kiss them. And that would be the kiss of death. Their saliva would be so full of poison that anyone touching it, they would die. Yes, Avi.
Does that same case happen with Putana?
What is that?
Did that same case happen with Putana? Like where she slowly from childhood did that? Because she put that huge amount of poison in her milk, right?
Well, on her breast, yeah. Uh, I don't think so, but I don't know for sure. But it says that she put poison on her breast. But what we're talking about now is a a lady who from childhood is trained to consume some poison, and they develop an immunity to a certain amount of poison, and then they go and attract a enemy man, and as soon as he kisses them, they die. Yeah.
Um, won't like one drop of poison, like the first drop of poison when they're trained, the first drop of poison should kill them, right?
No, not if it's diluted.
Yeah, diluted meat.
Mixed with, let's say, water or something, so that it's, the full potency of the poison is watered down. Right? Like, for example, if you uh, if you try and eat something that is It doesn't taste very nice. But if you put a lot of ketchup or you put a lot of sugar on it, then you can eat it. Right. So the same thing with poison. If you dilute it enough, you can actually consume it without dying. And then little by little, you uh, uh,
But the poison will always have to be diluted, right? Because then,
and well, yeah, you would train yourself. Everything's based on this training. You would train yourself to take more and more quantity of poison. And by taking a little bit of poison in the beginning, gradually you build up a uh, immunity to poison. It doesn't mean that you can uh, consume poison right away, but you can consume just a little bit at a time. And then gradually your body builds up, uh, let's say, uh, uh, the, uh, the ability to uh, consume more poison than a normal person would be able to. And then if you go and kiss someone, and as soon as your saliva mixes with that person will die because it's like drinking poison.
It's like the vaccine.
Huh?
It's like the vaccine.
A vaccine?
So something like that.
Yeah, I mean that's also we're in let's say if it is tuberculosis vaccine, they're actually injecting
You with tuberculosis.
yeah
Yeah.
into you.
So that you build up antigens that can tolerate it. Yeah. Okay. But see, that's why it's very nice to eat prasadam. Now you can see that so many horrible things are happening in the world. And it's all about lust, anger, and greed. The three doors to hell. Obviously, to get trained from childhood to consume poison in order to kill people, that's like horrible. Uh, so that once upon a time, there was a man who was given the opportunity to have whatever they want. So this one man wanted to have the blessing that whatever he touched would turn to gold. So once he got that uh, blessing, anything he touched, like the first thing he touched was his wife, she turned to gold. But then everything he touched would turn to gold. So he died very quickly because he couldn't eat anything. And he couldn't touch anything because immediately it would turn to gold. And you can't eat gold, right? So that was actually not a blessing, that was a curse. But he thought it was a great blessing that anything he could touch would turn to gold. But everything he touched turned to gold, and eventually he died. Yes.
then couldn't his wife feed him if he hadn't touched her?
What's that?
Did he have children?
Did what?
Did the man have children?
It's a logical thinking that if he has wife and children, they could feed a person.
I don't understand. Say it again.
If the person has his children
Yeah.
or wife, they could bring the food and feed him.
Feed who?
The person who has who has this magic in his hands.
So why would they do that?
Because then he would die, and they don't want their dad to die because he's going to take care of
Well, anybody who voluntarily drinks poison. Like, for example, alcohol is poisonous, right? And different types of drugs are actually poisonous. So anyone that consumes those type of things, it is anti anti it's against your health and well-being. So why would anyone want to consume things like that? It's just like smoking cigarettes. It's antithetical. Look that word up, antithetical. You do something that is not actually good for you, such as smoking cigarettes, such as uh, consuming poisonous things, and engaging in illicit sex and things like that. All those are antithetical. They are against the welfare of a person's health. Yes.
Directly opposed or consciously mutually incompatible.
Incompatible means it's something that is not conducive to your health or well-being.
So kind of like mutually.
What?
And you also says mutually works. Mutually fits the definition or the scenario we're talking about.
Yeah, we are talking about things that are antithetical, which are not good for your health or well-being. Okay, so here it says, okay, we're reading Canto 4, Chapter 2, text number 22. Persons who identify with bodily existence are attached to the fruitive activities described in the Vedic literature. For example, in the Vedas, it is said that one who observes the Chaturmasya vow will attain eternal happiness in the heavenly kingdom. Well, yeah, you can't misread this when it says eternal happiness in the heavenly kingdom. Well, it looks like eternal, but it's not. You can't eternally live in the heavenly kingdom because the heavenly kingdom is still in the material world, right? But because the period of being in the heavenly planets is very, very long, so it may seem to be eternal, but it's not. So it says that persons who identify with bodily existence are attached to the fruitive activities described in the Vedic literature. For example, in the Vedas, it is said that one who observes the Chaturmasya vow will attain eternal happiness in the heavenly kingdom. Well, no, that's not true. That you'll have eternal happiness. You will have happiness, but it's not really eternal. It looks like it's eternal, but it's not. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that this flowery language of the Vedas mostly attracts people, persons who identify with the body. To them, such happiness as that of the heavenly kingdom is everything. They do not know that beyond that is the spiritual kingdom or the kingdom of God, and they have no knowledge that one can go there. Thus, they are bereft of transcendental knowledge. Bereft means lacking transcendental knowledge. Such persons are very careful in observing the rules and regulations of household life in order to be promoted in the next life to the moon or other heavenly planets. It is stated here that such persons are attached to Gramya Sukha, which means material happiness without knowledge of eternal, blissful spiritual life. Well, uh, you can see now that there's a big effort to go to the moon. Well, they will never be able to do that, actually. Why? Well, the moon is a heavenly planet. And the moon is not a place where nobody exists. There are people existing on the moon, but they have a different type of body than we do. If we go to the moon, then we have to have special type of, a moon, uh, uh, let's say, clothing, because our body is not made to live on the moon. And we have to have all kinds of different things to protect ourselves from the atmosphere of the moon. So why would anyone want to go there? You will not be able to live there like you live on the earth, because our body is not made to live there. But the people that live on the moon do have bodies that are adapted to the moon's atmosphere. So you see, people are so stupid that they try and do things that are impossible to achieve. How long have people been trying to go to the moon? Let's say the first moon, uh, exploration was in the 1960s, I think. Now we're in the not the 1960s, but this in 20 something. So why is it that they're trying to go there? Well, it might be a military advantage. It might be to discover things that are that could be used. Just like, why do people try and find a gold mine? Well, to become rich if they do. So in the same way, uh, people have this curiosity to go places that'll make them rich. However, the atmosphere of the moon is not the same as the atmosphere on the Earth. So you have to have a special body to go to the moon. So why even try? It's just a waste of time, because you won't be able to live there, and you'll always be very close to dying, because if something goes wrong, like the first of all, traveling to the moon is not going to be an easy thing, because there are people that live on the moon, right? So you would have to get their permission to go to the moon, right? It's just like, if I want to go to Russia, I have to get I have to get a visa to go there, right? So just imagine, you want to go to the moon, you would have to get permission to go there from the inhabitants of the moon. So all this is nonsense things. These are impossible things that people are trying to do. And they'll waste so much money and so much time in their life doing things that will not really benefit them to go back to Godhead. Going back to the moon, or going to the moon, is not going to solve the problem of birth, death, old age, and disease. In fact, it might accelerate birth, death, old age, and disease. Yeah. What did you want to say?
So you said if we in the previous before a little bit before in the class, you said that demigods, if we're in Krishna conscious, we can get the body so that we can travel to all planets, right?
In the previous verse?
Or yeah.
What is this statement?
Like, if demigods can travel to all every planet, like Narada Muni, he can go to
Narada Muni is not a demigod,
or
he's a devotee.
devotees.
So what is your question?
So like you said, there are particular people who have particular bodies to survive in one planet, how can there be people that can travel throughout the planets without like having some trouble?
Like Narada Muni.
Because he goes everywhere, right? And different planets, different people need different needs on those planets. So, and each planet consists of the needs that it supplies. And people
Obviously, Narada Muni has a transcendental body, which means that he can adapt himself to any type of atmosphere.
by his will.
Yeah. We don't have the same powers that Narada Muni has. But he only uses those powers for doing good things. He doesn't use it like a demon would use powers. Like there are so many demons that perform severe tapasya to have powers so they can conquer other people or conquer countries or whatever. Right? Like Hiranyakashipu, he did severe, very severe tapasya to develop power, right? To be able to kill anyone he wanted. But that is not the purpose of life. But Narada Muni, he has tremendous powers, but he only uses them to help people become Krishna conscious. So having a lot of power is not bad if you use it in the right way to help other people. But to use it for your own selfish purpose, that is sinful. See, when Krishna gives someone power, it's to be used properly in the service of the Lord. And if it's not being used properly, he can take it away right away.
But and like then we got like Shiva and Brahma, can they take away like how Krishna can?
Well, they are exceptional persons, right? And they have tremendous powers. But if they misuse those powers, like Hiranyakashipu, then they'll be, let's say, punished by Krishna. When you, like, for example, you're given certain powers right now, right? Now, if you misuse these powers, you're going to be punished. Like, for example, there was this one family, father and mother, and they had a son. And for his 15th birthday, they gave him a gun with ammunition. And what did he do? As soon as he got the gun, he killed his mother and father. Now, that was a really stupid thing to do, right? To give a 15-year-old kid a gun with ammunition, real ammunition. So a 15-year-old kid, either they get a gun with ammunition or they get a car. You know, as soon as they turn 16, the family gives them a brand new BMW car. This actually happened. There was a doctor, an Indian doctor, when one of his sons turned 16, he gave him a brand new BMW car. In 1 month, the boy was dead. Yeah, because BMW car can go very fast, you know, and it's a very, let's say it's a good car, but it can also be a dangerous car. So the boy, he was 16 years old, and in a month or two, he was dead because he was always racing around with this very powerful car, that can go very fast. You go from 0 to 80 miles per hour in like 50 10 seconds, 15 seconds. That's how powerful the car is. So the boy didn't understand how dangerous it is to go so fast. The father didn't teach him, right? And why would he give a 16-year-old boy such a powerful instrument as a brand new BMW car? Doesn't make sense. So, in the same way, we have to always be educated before we do something. If we're not properly educated, we will make mistakes. And sometimes those mistakes are lethal. In other words, deadly. So whatever we do, we should first be educated to know the pros and cons of what we're going to do, what we're going to eat, where we're going to go, etc., before we do it. People who just do things without thinking about the consequences, they get into trouble. But before you do something, just like there was this one man, he helped the the demigods defeat the demons. So the demigods were so happy that they said to him, "You can have anything you want. We'll give it to you." So he said, "Okay, but first tell me uh, what are the benefits or not benefits of what you're going to give me, right?" So, so he didn't say, "Oh, great, I can have anything I want." No, he wanted to know the benefits and the non-benefits of what he was going to get. So they told him that, well, you'll be able to do this and do that. And he said, "Okay, I don't want it. I want to be able to go back to Godhead. I don't want to be able to have uh, unlimited sense gratification and stay in the material world." So he was a smart man. He didn't accept that so-called blessing without understanding the pros and cons of it. Right? So in the same way, today, different countries are building atomic bombs. So what are the pluses and minuses of the atomic bomb? Well, it's very dangerous. You can kill thousands of people with an atomic bomb. And you can make mistakes. And instead of killing the enemy, you can kill your own people. You know? So therefore, you should always ask what are the pluses and minuses of some activity that you're going to do before you do it. Otherwise, you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. So the best thing is the litmus test. The litmus test is you're testing something before you actually do it. So you should always ask yourself, if I do this, will Krishna be satisfied? And if you can't see any way that Krishna will be satisfied by what you want to do, you shouldn't do it. But if you don't ask that question, you just do whatever you think is good for you, you could make some serious mistakes. Just like if you eat something that is not clean, oh, you can get sick right away. You know? So people eat things that are not clean all the time, and they get sick, and sometimes they die. Like fish. Uh, Fish basically, what do fish eat? They eat stool. They eat dead bodies. Right? If you go to a aquarium to buy food for your fish that you have, right? Well, they'll give you dead
Worms.
worms. That's what the fish eat. And then if you eat that fish, you're eating basically dead worms. Right? But if you go to a temple, well, they'll give you prasadam. They won't give you dead worms to eat, right? So you always have to be careful what you put into your body. You have 9 orifices of the body. So who you're going to be depends on what you let enter those 9 orifices of the body: the eyes, the ears, the nose, the genitals, things like that. Those are holes of the body, 9 holes of the body. So what goes in those 9 holes will determine who you are. So if you let in poisonous things into the 9 holes of your body, or even 1 hole of your body, you'll die. So everything depends on what you accept in your body, physically or mentally. People will watch movies about Dracula, who was a so-called man who would kill people, right? So if you watch movies like that, it affects your mind, right? So we shouldn't go to movies like that, or going to movies where there's all sex and all kinds of mobsters or demons and things like that. Seeing those things will basically hurt you mentally. So we should not see or hear things like that. But yet, people go to movies that are very violent and very sexual, and it really conditions them to being very sexual and very violent. Right? Everything depends on who we associate with and what we associate with. So a devotee will not go to the cinema house, sit there for 2.5, 3 hours watching people killing each other and eating meat and engaging in sex, and they call that entertainment. It's not entertainment. It's becoming immune to seeing people being killed, and therefore it can influence your mind so that you do not think it's a bad thing to kill someone. So all these movies that kids are seeing nowadays, and their video games especially, most of those video games is how to advance further in the game by killing. In other words, if you're able to kill someone in the video game, you advance to a higher level. Now, they're not real people, but they are things that you have to do to advance in this game and win. But in order to do that, you have to kill someone that's in the video. So that type of video game conditions the mind of a child to be violent and not be, let's say, not be uh, afraid of performing sinful activities like that, right? They think it's almost normal to be able to kill people, right? So they can grow up eventually and, get their hands on a gun and go kill people. It happens a lot, like a 14-year-old kid somehow or other gets the gun that his father has, takes it to school, and starts shooting other kids. It happens a lot. So, how did the child learn to do that? Well, the father may have teach the boy to shoot a gun and go hunting, or he may have seen movies, and then somehow or other his father might have left his gun on a kitchen table or somewhere, and the boy goes and gets the gun and goes around killing people. So it's very dangerous to have or leave guns in an open place where a child can play with it. Very, very dangerous. Okay. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. So our takeaway today, it says, in Bhagavad Gita, it is said that this flowery language of the Vedas mostly attracts persons who identify with the body. To them, such happiness as that of the heavenly kingdom is everything. They do not know that beyond that is the spiritual kingdom or the kingdom of God, and they have no knowledge that one can go there. Thus, they are bereft of transcendental knowledge. Such persons are very careful in observing the rules and regulations of household life in order to be promoted in the next life to the moon or other heavenly planets. It is stated here that such persons are attracted to Gramya Sukha, which means material happiness, without knowledge of eternal blissful spiritual life. There it is. This is our takeaway today. And this is going on every day. Yeah. We're getting the wrong information and we're becoming attracted to the wrong things because of ignorance. So most of the education, if not all education that kids are getting today, is ignorance. It's not actually real knowledge. Therefore, if you ask a kid, like I asked this one boy who had just graduated from high school, I said to him, if you thought you could get away with committing a you know, theft, would you do it? He said, well, if I really thought I could get away with it, yes. Now, how did he learn that? You know, oh, maybe he was watching movies. Maybe his father is like that, right? Bad association. Yeah. And he said, if I, if I thought I could get away with it, I would do it. Why? So because he wants money, he wants power, whatever. But if a child is properly trained, he would say, well, why would I want to do something evil? I don't want to do anything evil. I want to do things that are good for myself and for other people. I don't want to do things that'll hurt other people. So that's a child that's been trained properly. In fact, the child not only doesn't want to hurt other people, he doesn't want to hurt animals, he doesn't want to hurt anything. Right? So that's the way they should be trained. Right? Like, for example, one time one of my kids was playing with the neighbor, and the neighboring girl had got some lighter fluid, and my daughter was with her, and the girl was using the lighter fluid to put into an ant hole and set it on fire and see all the ants burn. Right. And I just happened to see that from the house, and I went outside right away. I said, "What are you doing?" And the neighbor's girl said, "Well, we're having fun." And I said, "This is completely wrong." I said, "You're not supposed to do things like this." And I took away the can of lighter fluid, small can of lighter fluid. And she started crying and ran to her mother. And then her mother came out and she was really upset. "Why'd you make my daughter cry?" I said, "Well, your daughter was playing with my daughter. She had a little can of lighter fluid, and she was using the lighter fluid to burn ants." "Oh," she said, "really?" I said, "Yeah." So as a responsible adult, I took that can of lighter fluid away from her. And then she started crying and ran to you and complained about me. But actually, what I did was the right thing. And I said, I asked her mother, I said, "You think it's the right thing?" She said, "Yes, I think so. Thank you very much." Yeah, because the little girl could have set herself on fire. Right? Okay. So we need to always be diligent not to do things that are dangerous, not to think of things that are dangerous or corrupting. See no evil, do no evil, desire no evil, etc. That should be our motto for today. Do no evil, see no evil, desire no evil, stay away from evil, and always do good things. Haribol. All glories to Prabhupada Ki Jai.
So Maharaj, this last line, the last line is very much applicable to majority of people in this verse. I was exactly on that situation. It is stated here that such persons are attached to Gramya Sukha, which means material happiness, without knowledge of eternal, blissful spiritual life.
Yeah. I don't want to be a Gramya Sukha. Anyway, material happiness is temporary. So there's sat and asat. So a devotee who's educated, he doesn't engage in things that are asat, temporary. And he knows how to dovetail things to be spiritual. So one way is dovetailing the food we eat to be spiritual. It's by offering it first to Krishna. And then you're not eating food, you're eating prasadam. Right? So that's something that we do on a daily basis. If we just eat food, we're eating sinful things. But that same thing can be made spiritual by offering it first to Krishna. But yet, even then, you still have to use your intelligence to know what can be offered to Krishna and what cannot be offered to Krishna. You just can't offer anything to Krishna. Yeah, like sometimes, let's say, you have you're working in a company and it's Christmas, and the boss gives you a present, Christmas present, and it's a bottle of champagne. And what are you going to do with the bottle of champagne, right? If you give it back to the boss, you might get insulted. So what are you going to do with it? Well, you could give it to another person, but then you would be engaging them in something sinful in drinking champagne. So what do you do with the bottle? Well, you can use it to fertilize your plants, but it might not be a good fertilizer, though. All right, you put it down in the, in your in the toilet. But now you might be contaminating the water. So now, what do you do with the champagne? Well, you could keep it in the bottle and hide it somewhere so no one can find it. Or you could, for example, uh, you give it to someone else who drinks champagne, but then you would be helping them to commit a sinful activity. So now it's a dilemma. What do you do with it? Right? Well, you could use it as fertilizer, right? Just pour it into your garden. Eventually, it'll be broken down by all the living entities in the soil. Anyway, you see, uh, getting a Christmas present like champagne or whiskey, it's a problem. What are you going to do with it? You're not going to use it for yourself, and you're not going to give it to someone else, right? So you'll have to, maybe just pour it into the ground. Now, some people say, "Oh, why did you do that? That was an expensive bottle of champagne." Yeah, but if you gave it to them, you would be responsible for helping them commit a sinful activity. So we have to be very, very careful. There was this one man who was, uh, working hard and making money. And he had a friend of his also who would work hard and make money. So one day they were talking, and uh, actually, no, the one man was not rich. There was another man that was rich. And they were talking about money. And the poor guy said to the rich man, "Do you like money?" And he said, "Yes." He said, "Oh," he said, "I have some money and I'll give it to you because you like it." So, uh, and the rich man took it. Like one time, there was this uh, one man who had a very um, prominent restaurant, but he would sometimes go around in the restaurant and serve the food to the people. And then the people would give him a tip, right? And he would accept it, although he was a multimillionaire, right? Then when the people found out that guy actually is the owner of the restaurant, he's a multimillionaire, but yet he's still pocketing the tip, right? So that it seemed that, this is the whole life of that man. He's only interested in making money, right? So we should avoid the association of people who are addicted to meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, and intoxication. Those are the four big ticket items that we should never associate with or engage in. All right, so here it says, pretentiously religious householder life in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus also attracted to the superficial explanation of the Vedas, robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all. That is our takeaway today. And it says pretentiously religious householder life. That means being attached in a fake way to religious householder life in which one is attracted to material happiness and thus also attracted to superficial explanation of the Vedas, robs one of all intelligence and attaches one to fruitive activities as all in all. This is what every householder should memorize, this verse. Okay, so there it says, persons who identify with bodily existence are attached to the fruit of activities described in the Vedic literature. For example, in the Vedas, it is said that one who observes the Chaturmasya vow will attain eternal happiness in the heavenly kingdom. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that this flowery language of the Vedas mostly attracts persons who identify with the body. To them, such happiness as that of the heavenly kingdom is everything. They do not know that beyond that is the spiritual kingdom or kingdom of God, and they have no knowledge that one can go there. So now, why would therefore Krishna give knowledge of what? The heavenly kingdom and ways of achieving to go to the heavenly kingdom? Why would he put that in the Vedas? Right? It says that such things are explained in the Vedas. And one who observes the Chaturmasya vow will attain eternal happiness in the heavenly kingdom. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that this flowery language of the Vedas mostly attracts persons who identify with the body. To them, such happiness as that of the heavenly kingdom is everything. They do not know that beyond that is the spiritual kingdom. Well, okay. So why is there information like that in the Vedas? Well, because even though it's not good what they're going to do, it is, in one sense, the beginning of following some religious activity. Right? It might not be good, but it's a let's say a low level start. Okay.
And they will also learn to surrender someone who is at least superior to them, like
Yes.
demigods.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So that is our takeaway today. Persons who identify with bodily existence are attached to the fruit of activities described in the Vedic literature. For example, in the Vedas, it is said that one who observes the Chaturmasya vow will attain eternal happiness in the heavenly kingdom. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that this flowery language of the Vedas mostly attracts persons who identify with the body. To them, such happiness as that of the heavenly kingdom is everything. They do not know that beyond that is the spiritual kingdom or the kingdom of God, and they have no knowledge that one can go there. Thus, they are bereft of transcendental knowledge. Okay, so that's our takeaway today, not to be fooled by the promises of sense gratification on the heavenly kingdom and try to attain those type of heavenly planets where they can live very long life and have extended sense gratification. That's not going to really help them make spiritual advancement. Although they might be acting by doing pujas or somewhat, self-interested pujas or worship. Well, almost everybody's engaged in selfish type of pujas where you sit down and right away the pundit says, say mama. That means this puja is for me, right? So if you sit down and the pundit asks you to say mama, you should get up right away and run away because that is not something you want to do because it's very selfish and it's not actually spiritual. It's going to be a material program, right? So you don't want to engage in things like that. Okay, all the mamas can go away. Haribol, all grace to Prabhupada. Yeah. It's very easy to be cheated today. Very easy. Due to ignorance, although people are so proud of their knowledge and education, but it's all nonsense. Their education, their knowledge, their different accomplishes, it's all nonsense. You should not be attracted to it. Haribol.